And that's it. That is it. There you go. The match is over. Not one we'll rush to watch a replay of, I suggest. But the match has finished Stockport County 0, West Ham United 1. West Ham are through to the 4th round of the FA Cup, where we will be meeting Doncaster Rovers, and the winner of that who play Manchester United or Liverpool in the 5th round. It's not been a fantastic night for anyone from West Ham, really, apart from Craig Dawson, perhaps, who, as we mentioned a few moments ago, has now played 3 games for the Hammers, has been in a team that's kept 3 clean sheets. And there he was tonight, popping up with the winning goal 6 minutes from the end of time to send West Ham through to the 4th round of the competition. Huge credit, I think, to Jim Gannon and his team of non-leaguers for a really superb defensive performance. West Ham struggled, it's fair to say, from the opening minute to find any roads into the Stockport penalty box. I mean, look at the stats. The stats say it all. West Ham 12 shots at goal, only 2 shots on target, one of which was the winning goal. And that just sums up how well Stockport set out their stall tonight. And what a fantastic job Jim Gannon, who, of course, is a West Ham United fan, so I suppose he might be secretly not too disappointed that the Hammers have gone through to the next round. But what a brilliant job the National League side have done tonight. In the end, of course, I guess everyone's going to be reasonably happy that they can all go home with their heads held high. West Ham are through to the next round and have avoided one of those potential banana skins, and Sky haven't got, BT Sport, isn't it? Not Sky. BT Sport haven't had their upset that they would have been hoping for. And West Ham live to fight another day. But not the best performance known from the Hammers, but we got there in the end.
Yeah, I'm just watching the pictures at the moment. And I mean, given how filthy the weather is out there, everybody's been made to wait outside. I think it's a bit like playing over Hackney Marshes or Wanstead Flat. Who's got the key to the changing room? Everybody's outside at the moment. So, but yeah, it would be very easy to sound patronising about Stockport today, but you got it spot on there. They did their homework. They knew how difficult it would be. And tell you what, do you want to come back to me? They've got Craig Dawson there now, so we'll have let's see what he's got to say for himself. No problem. Craig Dawson, the match winner, scoring the only goal of the game with his head 6 minutes from time. Pinky, we said it, didn't we, when we early doors in the second half, that it looks like the winning goal, if there was to be one in before potential penalty shootout, would come from the air, and that's how it transpired in the end.
Yeah, and a good enough goal in the end. Decent cross in, and he had a good run up at it and buried it. Sometimes you've just got to play the conditions, and any suggestion that after 70 odd minutes of torrential rain, where the ball was struggling to roll on the field, the pitch had cut up quite badly, give up trying to play football on that. That isn't a night for Ben Rama and Lanzini. That is, get the ball in the air and get your head on it. And so, at the death, dare I say it, we picked the right tactic. Good goal by Dawson, but we made really hard work of that tonight. And what it really points to is the paucity of options that the manager has now in the squad. And if the rumours that we are desperately trying to start about Diop are true, the rumours that we've heard about Diop are true, dare I say it, another player could be on his way out of the club. And it just begs the question, how deep is the financial hole that the club is in at the minute? That we seem to be, it's not quite a fire sale, but that was a huge loss on Seb Haller that we've made. And you look at, Anderson, there's no money coming back on him. And Diop, you'd almost have to say, if someone's bidding, please at least let it be at a profit. I don't have any concerns about Dawson being a third centre back all for the rest of the season, but it really is. We're looking like we've got a threadbare squad yet again, and no contract for the manager. You know, where are we going?
Yeah, I mean, the only striker, of course, that we really have now left at the club, and he's not really a striker anyway, is he? Michail Antonio. You know, we'd sort of piled our hopes on him a little bit since since he came back from injury, but I was really surprised at how quiet he was tonight. And just, I don't know if he was perhaps conserving his energy for the forthcoming Premier League games, and maybe have been told to take his foot off the gas a little bit, but he was really, really quiet tonight out there, wasn't he?
Yes, but I mean, consider the conditions. He's come back from quite a serious injury.
Yeah.
It's a heavy, waterlogged pitch. You know, that just drains anything you've got in your legs. I mean, being no doubt about that. And you know, if we've got him through that game fit, and you know, he'll have a couple of days rest before the next match, that's job done.
Yeah,
that's job done. Disaster tonight would be Antonio getting a goal and going off injured.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's. I'm almost happy that he's had a quiet game that we've then gone on to win.
Yeah,
but he's just got, you know, some minutes under his belt, and it's you know, it's desperate stuff, because here we are again. Every selling club in the world is going to look at us now and go, "So you're short of a striker, are you?"
mm-hmm.
Did we say 30 million? You know, it's one of those, isn't it? You know, and you can see it coming a mile off. And meanwhile, over at the bridge, you'll have, you know, the Russian girl, you know, on the phone to Sully going, "It would have been 50 million last summer, but we've now got 35 million of cash. Do you want it?" You can see it coming.
Yes, a reference, I presume, to Declan Rice rather than someone like Mark Noble, who
I think that's
captained
a fair assumption. Yeah,
who led the side tonight, skippering the team. Was that his first captaincy game he's captained this season? I'm not sure, but anyway, the club captain back in the side tonight. Rio, 1-0. We got there in the end, didn't we? We were getting increasingly concerned as time pushed on, but cometh the hour, cometh the man. Craig Dawson, there he was with that big napper of his, surviving an early fake injury scare once again to rise like a dumpster at the far post and nod us through to the fourth round.
Yeah, and fair play to him. Like, as I said, thank you, Craig, for sparing us half an hour of absolute misery and depression of watching extra time. I just wish we could have been up there, because I would have nipped round in normal times. I would nip round outside the changing room and had a full can of lager waiting for him, going, "Thank you for that." Right, you've just, what an abysmal night to be out watching football. You know, and you saved our life, Craig. As we said, 3 clean sheets, a goal, a serious kick to the head of an opposing player. What more do you want from a defender? And he hasn't cost us a bean, in theory. Mr. Sullivan would be rubbing his hands together.
Yeah, did well again tonight, didn't it? And you know, we've just been hearing from him actually on the TV. Gnome was taking a few seconds off to hear what our match winner was saying. Gnome, what did Mr. Dawson have to say about that lot?
Not an awful lot. Praised Stockport for making it tough. The goal was something that was off the training ground. It was a move that they'd worked on in training, short free kick, and as I mentioned, you couldn't quite see it on most of the replays, but Dawson came from very, very deep, and I don't mean just from the depth of water that he had to come through. It was. He said, it was one of those nights where you had to dig deep, and we were patient, and that was it, really. It was the usual thing that you'd expect from a player just off the pitch. I have solved the mystery of why the players were then sort of stood in the corner as they were trudging off and still getting wet.
Okay, do reveal all.
The reason is that they were changing in temporary facilities. the showers are the other side of the ground, so they had to walk all the way back across the other side of the ground to go and get a shower. So there you go. So it just seemed a bit odd that everyone was waiting outside the corner there, and it was somebody must have the key to the changing room. Who's got the valuables bag? It looked just like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm expecting we'll have the managers to come on in a minute or two, but somebody's just trying to sell me a new Ford Puma at the moment. So
Good stuff. Well,
if you want to give me one for mentioning it, then fire away, lads. But
we shall see what the managers Jim Gannon and David Moyes have to say about that. I'm not sure who will be the happier of the two actually after that one. Both will have reasons to be happy, I suppose, but equally both will have reasons to be not particularly happy about that. But it was a tough game out there tonight, Pinky. Those, we touched on it throughout the game. The conditions, it was treacherous playing out there. We saw Said Benrahma almost disappear as he aquaplaned across the turf in the second half there. The ball was standing up in the mud, kind of like the way it would used to in a Sunday league game over the local wreck. It was like rolling back the clock. West Ham's performance was like one of those from 30 years ago. The sort of football we don't really see an awful lot in the Premier League these days.
No, we're spoiled, aren't we? Because even in, that rainfall, a Premier League pitch would be decent enough to cope with it. At this level, they haven't got quite as much money to invest in the pitch technology, and this is what you get. But I've got to make the obvious point. It was the same for both teams.
Yeah.
And Stockport had a plan. I'm not convinced we did until near the death, when it was okay. Let's do something a little bit different. I think for an hour in that game tonight, we looked pretty clueless. At any stage, did we have the Stockport defence really stretched? Did we have them all going, crikey, that was a near miss? Nothing like that. They had, they'd have had more nervous nights, turning up at the pub thinking it's their round next. It's just, we had nothing that was going to unlock their two banks of four. This was basic lower league defensive stuff. We've seen teams do it against us season after season, decade after decade. And where was our plan? I don't think we had one. On the plus side, what was it? Not much more than a year ago, and we're getting done 4-0 at Oxford United or whatever it was. So, okay, I've been very critical of us tonight, but let's not forget we have actually won the game.
Yeah, job done. Yeah. And not just Oxford, Pinky. Of course, was it the third round? We were knocked out by West Brom at home last year with a terrible performance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can sit here and complain, but we are through to the next round. We live to fight another day, and that will be against Doncaster in the next round. For those of you who haven't seen the draw for the FA Cup, as Gnome pointed out earlier, they drew 2 rounds tonight, the 4th and the 5th round. We face Doncaster in the next round, and the winners of that tie will travel to either Old Trafford or Anfield to play Manchester United or Liverpool.
You can just imagine, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when he saw the draw that took place just before kickoff, he's probably sent Paul Scholes a text saying, "Do us a favour, mate. Can you watch the game for us tonight and send us a report?" But I bet Scholes goes, "Oh no, I was just going to dial in on my punditry tonight. I wasn't actually going to watch the game at all." We sat there tonight tearing his hair out because there was so little quality on the show tonight. There really was, and I don't think it's a classic cup tie, but it was classic cup tie conditions. Dreadful pitch, pouring with rain. We didn't want to be there, but we just got the job done.
Yeah.
And dare I say, had Stockport been slightly braver, they may have done us tonight.
Yeah, fortunately, Stockport missing. I'm talking about the conditions. It sort of brings to mind that classic Hereford-Newcastle time, and that who was it? Radford who scored the winning goal?
Ronnie Radford.
Ronnie
He
Radford,
didn't
wasn't
score
it?
the winner, He scored the equaliser, I think it was. So I
That's
can't remember
right.
who scored the winner.
That's right.
Anyway, Gannon's on at the moment, so come back
Okay.
to me.
We'll come back to you in just a moment. On the YouTube, we're going to go to the KUMB.com match thread to see what the our fellow Hammers fans are making of that performance in just a moment with Rio. Before I do that, just want to point out a post from Elaine Nelson on the YouTube chat. And Elaine says, I've been told I'll be listening to you chaps from now on while the other half watches on TV. This match and Everton now both wins. Apologies for only one goal each in both matches. Well, I guess, Elaine, if you can bring us that continued luck, then stay with us forevermore. Craig Dawson, of course, also another lucky omen. And talking about Craig Dawson, and let us know who you think was your man in the match tonight. I guess, as I said, by dint of scoring the only goal of the game in a pretty drab encounter, he's going to take a lot of your nominations tonight. But Rio, yes, over to you, sir. The KUMB.com forum match thread. It's finished 1-0. West Ham have won again, back-to-back wins. Quite a different one from that one at Everton. But what are the fans making of it?
There's lots of use of the words banana skin, surprisingly enough. And there's a lot of sighs of relief flying about. SpongeBob's Pants has put, today has confirmed a few things for me. We really struggle and will continue to struggle against teams who sit deep and protect their defence. We aren't cute enough to break teams down. We really need a class central midfield playmaker who's able to put in slide rule passes. We definitely need another striker. It's going to take Mickey time to get up to speed, and we just can't rely on him in anyway. Stonehammer, really good win. Craig Dawson was his man of the match. He's been there when we needed him. Felt this is a big opportunity missed by both Benrahma and Lanzini. Neither of them did much. Ogbonna, as always, class. I actually thought Noble had their best chance of a goal. Possession game is his game, and he plays some really nice passes. Billy Bond's boots. Well done to Leicester.
You know full well with Salford how hard it can
Stuck
be.
in now, kept it in poor conditions. It reminded me so much of the old days of proper football. Oggy was class again. We definitely need a striker or two. 2 is too much for Antonio. Yarmo by thanks for the goal against Chelsea. Irons, the sort of banana skin fixture that West Ham of old would probably have lost. Absolutely atrocious conditions. The pitch was a mud bath. Poor game to watch, but we're won and we're through. On to the next one. Believer, we're through. It was tough, and credit to Stockport as they nullified and frustrated us fantastically. Yes, we made a move a bit at times, but we stuck at it and got a win. The conditions and pitch were the same for both teams, but nobody can say that barring us, we would have been desperate for us to lose. On to a home time, which hopefully we can win. Then it will be against the Sky favourite. The crucial thing being no support, so an even tie, apart from the officials. And Craig 2609 has put, that was a slog to watch. Conditions really atrocious, and hopefully 90 minutes on that pitch doesn't set Big Mac's hamstrings back. Our creative players really didn't get going, but the sooner we ship out Yarmolenko, the better. He's such a frustrating player. So not a lot of love for Yarmo tonight, and not a lot of love for the conditions out there.
Man of the match, Rio. Not really a great selection to choose from, really, from what we saw out there. Who would you go with?
There's only 2 candidates for me, and it's shocking to say that player gets a non-league side. Both centre backs. Obviously, Craig Dawson for the goal, but I thought Ogbonna wins it for me. Just what again, he was exemplary. I hate to mention it again, but the conditions really were atrocious. Didn't suit playing out from the back, but he did all the simple things right. Marshalled the defence quite well, and for me, again, he's been a shining light tonight.
Okay, good stuff. Pinky, would you go along with that, or have you got someone else in mind?
No, I'd go with Ogbonna tonight. Again, it's his consistency that's set him apart this season. That he is one of the names that is mentioned every single week for man of the match. Which you go back a year or so, that wouldn't have been the case. Maybe 18 months. So he's certainly found a way of playing with either Balbrena or with Dawson. So yeah, Oggy tonight for my money. Had a good game.
Okay, good stuff. And then we'll come to you on Jim Gannon shortly. But before we do that, who would you have as your man of the match?
I'll make it a clean sweep for Oggy from the three of us. Dawson, a close second, shall we say? But there was one point where Dawson got caught out a little bit, and whereas Ogbonna sort of came in and tied it up, and it was the have it moment, as we called it at the time, and the no nonsense. As I say, I mean, tough conditions, didn't put a foot wrong. I mean, Randolph saves. Did he have many to make? I mean, the self-inflicted punch, but by and large, everything was when Stockport did attack us. Everything was blocked in front of Randolph. Was well protected by both Ogbonna and Dawson. So Ogbonna.
Okay, I'm going to go slightly against the grain. I'm going to go for Declan Rice because I think we mentioned it a couple of times in the second half. You know, when we were sort of looking really laboured and struggling to find, that final pass or even sort of look dangerous in any sense, you sort of felt that Declan Rice was the one outstanding candidate on that pitch to do something. And, he worked like a Trojan, as he always does, irrespective of the opposition, whether it's Liverpool or Stockport. He was working very hard, putting some good challenges. We spoke about that run he had, Pinky, when he was found himself up against 5 or 6 opponents in the end, and that was the only way they could sort of stop him. So I think really, it was a game very short on sort of class and quality. And I think for that, I think Declan Rice really stood out for me during the match as the only player who sort of looked at, a top quality, shall we say, and likely to do something. But 3 out of 4 shouts going to Angelo Ogbonna, who, it's got to be said, has had a fantastic season this year, at the heart of that defence, holding it together pretty much since the start of the season. Jim Gannon, the Stockport manager, has been speaking on BT Sports. What did he have to say?
Again, much as one might expect, very, very pleased with the performance. In fact, he said almost slightly disappointed that they didn't actually make more of bring more to the game in terms of an attacking force. So there are a couple of occasions where they got into good positions and didn't work the goalkeeper. And he said, I really don't want to take anything away from us. He said, it says a hell of a lot of how we've come for the last couple of years, that we're now slightly disappointed we didn't do slightly better against the Premier League team. But very, very proud of his team, and I think rightly so.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I thought they were defended exceptionally well tonight. I just wonder, though, Gnome, that you think if you're a Stockport player, perhaps sitting in that changing room now, reflecting on the last, 94 minutes, what happened out there on the pitch, that you might be sort of looking at that as an opportunity missed, really, that, they coped comfortably, didn't they, with what West Ham threw at them? And mate, I just wonder if I was sitting there now, would I be thinking as one of those players that, I just wish we'd perhaps thrown caution to the wind a little more and had a real go at West Ham?
Yeah, probably right. Although, I mean, it's one of those things in hindsight is probably quite easy to say, but and Pinky said, if they'd actually, they might be regretting not going for it a little bit more. But then, if they had gone for it a little bit more, would we have caught them a bit better? If they'd been playing into our hands slightly a bit, maybe a bit more. It's all, I mean, Granny had wheels, should be a skateboard, it's as I say, they're probably sitting there thinking, one or two sort of half chances they had. If only I'd done that, or if only I'd done that. But as I say, they can probably sit there being proud of each other. As I say, they had a plan, they stuck to it very well, and quite sure what's happening.
Full credit.
So I was just hoping. I was expecting us to go over to David Moyes, but for some reason the program seems to have changed, and we've the programme's finished and they haven't got to Moyes at all. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to hear what he's saying. We're watching Marseille and some other goals at the moment. So,
Okay.
what David Moyes has to say, I can't tell you.
We'll have to wait and see. For what it's worth, I'm seeing it looks like a rerun of the match from the beginning, and I can absolutely guarantee you I won't be watching that for the next 2 hours. Just a few shouts on man of the match. Mark English going for Declan Rice. Hobo also Rice. Soulboy agreeing with the gentleman here going for Ogbonna. But also saying that Declan was strong and assertive and played a good game. Let us know what you thought, who you felt was the best player for West Ham out on that pitch tonight on the YouTube chat or on the KUMB.com forum match thread, which is reasonably busy, I think, right now after that game. We'll go to Rio again in just a moment just to see if there's any new, really interesting posts cropping up on there. That's that. West Ham are through to the 4th round of the FA Cup. It's back to the Premier League this Saturday. And also on next Tuesday, with 2 now on paper, as tonight, you would probably say they look like very winnable games, Pinky. It's Burnley at home on Saturday, and we follow that with West Brom providing the visitors 3 days later. Of course, after that, it's Doncaster. So now in the Cup, 3 home games in a row, and then we face a trip to Crystal Palace. So you could say, really, Pinky, 4 very winnable games and a nice little start to the new year for West Ham. Looking at that.
Winnable, I'd say maybe not losable. But to win games, you've got to score goals. And, you know, we've put ourselves in a position whereby we've got, you know, 1 player up top. You know, we've mentioned it ad nauseum, dare I say, tonight. And the slightest tweak on hamstring, the slightest problem, and suddenly, what have you got? You know, we've got the manager talking about false number 9s. So you're playing 3 of the weakest teams in the top flight as your next matches, and you're talking about playing false 9s. So, you know, the games you could say we've got a chance to win.
Yeah.
But we'll have to be a lot better than we were this evening. And, you know, we've put a lot tonight down to the conditions and so forth. But did Benrahma look like a £30 million footballer this evening? And I've got to say, no. Did Lanzini look like a player that you could sell for, say, £20 million? No. You know, so we had a number of players out there tonight not able to impose themselves in a game against opposition that are a long way south of us. And you know, so for my money, why would we make the assumption that we can do it against Burnley, West Brom, Crystal Palace? Because you're telling me that Roy Hodgson can't organise a team as well as Jim Gannon? Well, I think we know he can.
Always that thing about the FA Cup, isn't there, Pink? And it's kind of impossible to explain, really, isn't it? How, you know, it does prove to be a great leveler. We've seen it so many times over the years, and of course, we've seen it more than anyone at West Ham. What a great leveler it can be. But you know, the way you perform in an FA Cup tie like that is really no indication of what you can expect to see against Burnley next week or even West Brom a few days later.
Well,
is it?
I disagree, because I think what we saw was exactly how Burnley are going to play against us.
Yeah.
Solid banks of 4, absolutely, you know, a narrow back 4. Yeah, if you sling the ball in, we'll deal with it. Sean Dyche will be able to organise his team to say, do you know what? They haven't got it to play through us. They haven't got the passing and the movement.
Yeah.
You know, normally you'd see West Ham lining up with Souček and Rice. Where's the passer? Who's gonna play the ball through an eye of a needle for somebody to get on the end of? And then the question is, well, who's the somebody?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so this idea that oh, it's only Burnley or it's only West Brom or it's only Palace,
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely don't subscribe to, because what we saw tonight was a well-organised, classically English football team that says, come and break us down. So what do you think we're going to get with Burnley? Much the same. West Brom, what do you think Sam Allardyce is going to do? You know, Crystal Palace, what do you think Roy Hodgson's going to do? Yeah, and they've all just been shown how to do it this evening. So, you know, I don't share your optimism. I'm sorry, I just don't see it.
Yeah, very much West Ham's Achilles heel, as we touched upon earlier, isn't it? That inability to break down sides that you would expect us to look fairly decent against anyway. And of course, we don't want to be unfair to those clubs. Of course, that we have to break them down as much as is the case when Liverpool or Manchester United or someone of that ilk plays us, I guess. So credit where it's due. We've also already seen Roy Hodgson do a fantastic job against West Ham earlier in the season. So I'm sure we'll be looking to do that again.
Yeah, the teams that are likely to occupy the top 4 or 5 places at the end of the season, they need, by definition, to win most weeks. Mm-hmm. So they'll come at you and they'll leave some space in behind them. The teams that are most likely to occupy the bottom half dozen places in the league, by definition, are quite likely not to be coming at you and leaving acres of space behind them. They know their limitations. Therefore, the onus becomes very much on us to make something happen. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll see Ben Rama say, "You want a £30 million player? Here I am." Maybe Lanzini will say, "Sorry for the Christmas dinner. Here I am." Not seeing it.
This is something I wanted to touch on. We haven't really had the opportunity to do that until now. But Rio, Manuel Lanzini, Pinky's just brought it up there. The fact that at Christmas he was pictured flouting the COVID rules and regulations by enjoying a party with 3 or 4 of his fellow internationals from Tottenham. Should he have been playing for West Ham tonight?
I think it's only the lack of numbers we have that has resulted in him doing so, to be honest. I wouldn't have had him nowhere near the squad for 2 reasons. First of all, the complete lack of regard to what the situation in the whole country is at the moment, where people's lives are at stake. 80,000 deaths is shocking enough. People putting their themselves on the line every single day to try and keep numerous other people alive. Yet he sees fit to join his mates for a bit of a Christmas jolly. No, not for me. Incredibly disrespectful. Add on to that the fact that he's only turned up 2 games this season for us, performance-wise. That strike against Tottenham, he had 1 decent second half. I can't remember who it was now. Was it Aston Villa? He come on, he tried to change the game. Was it Palace? I can't remember now.
Not sure.
I wouldn't have had him nowhere near the side. He would have been fined a hell of a lot of money, and his bags would have been kind of packed. But we're so short of numbers, we can't afford to do it. Simple as.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I mean, no, do you agree with Rio there? I mean, the club came out and said that Lanzini had been reminded of his responsibilities, which sort of struck me as a bit of a get out, really. But would you have sort of fined him extensively, or put him on a match ban for a couple of games, if it was possible?
Yeah, I mean, you got to love that reminded of his responsibilities, which is it's got its own sort of soft key on every football club's computer, isn't it? You Control Alt Z or something, and it comes out. He will be reminded of his responsibilities. Certainly, I don't know whether or not he's been fined. All they've said is it's been dealt with internally. You've got to ask. I mean, I'm with Rio. I've been in charge. I wouldn't have wanted to pick him. You've got to wonder whether or not the FA ought to be doing something from a disciplinary point of view.
Yeah.
Never mind the clubs. I mean, my personal situation. I live 100 miles away from my parents and my youngest brother, who is disabled. And it broke my parents, my little brother, and my heart over Christmas. I couldn't spend. It's only the second time in best part of 60 years that we haven't had Christmas together. And I mean, what am I? I'm just sitting there. I'm doing everything I'm told, busting a gut. And footballers sort of think, well, we're footballers. We're rich. We do what we want. And not only doing that, take the photograph of it and get it circulated. I mean, David Moyes went into print last week saying something along the lines of, we shouldn't be picking on footballers for this. And I'm not picking on footballers in general. I mean, although there is a habit for footballers to behave how they want. What I would say is anybody who did what Lanzini did, went out, had a party, ought to be sort of hung, drawn, and quartered. It's just, we're talking about football. We're here to talk about a football club. Lanzini is our player who I think has done something that's wrong. Not picking on footballers. I'm just picking on anybody who does that.
Yeah.
And I see what Moyes mean. It's easy to scapegoat footballers for society's ills, which is perhaps another question. But that's not happening on this. This is serious. 80,000, I think Rio said. And you're going out and having a nice glass of champagne at a nice house because you think you can get away with it. Yeah, that's an insult to me, anyway.
Okay, thank you. No, Pinky, your views on this situation?
I'm
Rio
going
has
against the grain
spoken.
here. I'm going against the grain. Okay.
Thought you might.
If Pol Pot, Adolf Hitler, and Joseph Stalin were my best three options up top, I'd pick them. Wouldn't hesitate. Does that mean I'm endorsing or excusing what Lanzini did? No. But if I'm a football manager, my job's to win games of football. And what the authorities choose to do is another matter.
Yeah,
And
well, I think that's the point, isn't it? Should that decision have been taken out of David Moyes' hands by the club instead of, just essentially passing the buck and, saying that, or the FA, indeed.
I genuinely don't think that we should leave it to your David Moyes', your Jose Mourinho's and all the rest of it. Because their job is to win games of football. And at the end of the day, if Lanzini has broken the law, go and ring his doorbell. Hello, son, would like a chat. Because that is what would happen with you or I.
Yeah.
Okay. And I wouldn't have any complaints about that if that was the outcome. Because, and that's nothing to do with Lanzini being a footballer. That's just him being treated as a member of the public, as you or I would be. So for me, it's a matter for the appropriate authorities, whoever they may be, to deal with it. I don't think it's a matter for David Moyes to deal with it.
Sure.
I think you're getting into very tricky areas then when you're saying to managers, you're going to be the moral guardians of a game that's morally bankrupt. I mean, that's because what's your next debate? Should a player, Mesut Ozil get 380 grand a week while a nurse is getting paid 380 pounds a week? Where's your next moral debate? And that's not one for football managers.
No, I agree. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. But I think the point is, the club really have just sort of tried to wash themselves away from the situation. They did sort of by saying what they've said, to say they've reminded him of his responsibilities is just essentially just a get out, isn't it? It's we all have to comply by these rules, and here we are. These organisations that we look up to, the members of the government. Without sort of going into this in too much depth, our football clubs, and it's just we've all seen it on social media week in, week out. People flouting the law and people expressing dismay and disgust at, as you said, regular citizens flouting these laws. And yet here we have, and as Gnome said, it's not just a question that they had a party. And they were found to have had a party. They were that belligerent in a sense that they were posting pictures of it on social media. That's how little I guess they felt that they would have to be held accountable for their actions in a sense.
Well, yeah, yes and no. I mean, this is where I'll cut them a tiny bit of slack. Okay, a tiny bit of slack. In my organisation, we do all sorts of things to make people stay several meters apart and things like that. We spend a fortune doing it. In West Ham United's organisation, what we're saying is you can play in a close contact sport where you are exhaling moist breath and all the rest of it over another human being. So on the one hand, we're saying because it suits us as football for the show to go on, we're gonna put you as the player in a relatively high risk environment. But then when you go and decide to do something at the weekend that is inappropriate, we're then going to call you out for it. And I think that, again, there's a little bit of double standards coming in here, whereby the players going, well, hang on, we're all over each other when we score a goal and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So what's the problem with me having a drink with, a Tottenham player, whatever it may be? Well, there's your answer. But I'm not excusing what Lanzini's done here, but we are giving the players mixed messages to some degree, and the football authorities, whether it was our own vice chair, just before the second spike hit, you're much safer going to a game of football than you are sitting at home. And she was only doing that for one reason: we need the money. So for my money, football's on a very sticky wicket here in terms of a moral argument. I think the police, they've got a different answer to this. If Lanzini's broken the law, nick him. Simples.
Makes you wonder why that hasn't happened. We're assuming it hasn't happened. We don't know. But there's plenty of evidence there, isn't there, to prove it has taken place. So it does kind of make you wonder. But I think I think Gnome makes a really valid point in saying that it's disappointing when we as sort of laymen and as regular members of society try to adhere as much as possible as we can to these rules and regulations, and yet you see them regularly flouted. I think Preview Percy made a point, I think, in his match preview this week about the fact that for every footballer that is flouting these regulations, there's probably 999 that aren't and that are adhering. And I guess this is a bit like social media in general, in ways, in that you only hear and see those who are breaking the laws, and the vast majority of the country is adhering to the rules and regulations and doing their bit to reduce the effects of this awful disease. But anyway, I'm sure it's a debate that will go on long after we finish this show, and obviously not just about footballers, but just something I wanted to touch on, really, because it was an interesting situation, and again, credit to the club, I suppose, in a sense. It's not a situation they would have wanted to be thrust into, but let's just hope it's been dealt with, and we won't see a reoccurrence of anything like that in future. We are going to wrap up fairly soon, so thank you to everybody who's joined us on the live stream. I guess I just want to go round to the team once more before we do so. And it was a crap game. Let's be honest. It was pretty awful, drab, depressing stuff. But we won. And without wishing to reopen that argument that sort of emerged on the KUMB Forum after the Everton game, and talking about the way that matches were won, I'm certainly loath to sit here tonight and say that it was a good performance by West Ham, given the fallout from that. But there's an argument. There's a discussion we could talk about long into the night again about, isn't it about is it the winning that matters or the quality of the football played? But maybe we'll do that in a future show. But overall, your final summary, gentlemen, of what you've seen tonight. It's finished. Stockport County 0, West Ham United 1. Gnome, your final words on what we've seen here tonight.
Job done. We could have done it better, should have done it better perhaps, but ultimately it's a cup game, and your aim at the end of the cup game is to get through to the next round. And in the perhaps unlikely, maybe not, event that we end up at Wembley, I'm sure as hell we won't be sitting here saying, "God, went it terrible against Stockport." Job done. I mean, fair play to Stockport. They had a plan, they stuck to it, and it was up to us to defeat that plan, which eventually we did. Can't really ask for more, I suppose.
Thanks, Noam. Thank you. And thank you for all your inputs once again this evening. Rio, yeah, as Noam said, job done. Your final words on what you've seen tonight.
It was, in a way, typically West Ham, and in a way, untypically West Ham. Typically West Ham to make so hard a job of beating an inferior opposition. Untypically West Ham in actually getting the result and walking away here with a sigh of relief more than anything, because that's what it is, isn't it? We're not coming away thinking, oh, you know, that was a classic performance or it's a dogged performance. We got through it. It's a massive sigh of relief that we're not going to go into work tomorrow and face the wrath of stick. You've just been turned over by a non-league side. So, congratulations. Yes, we're through to the next round. I just wish we make things a lot easier for ourselves at times. I really do.
Yeah, we certainly made it difficult tonight. Waited, 84 minutes for the only goal of the game to arrive, the one that sent us through to the fourth round tie against Doncaster. Pinky, a West Ham win. We've avoided, that potential banana skin that everyone was talking about earlier. Your final thoughts on what you've seen tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you'd file it under a win's a win, in the hat for the next round, so to speak. But a poor performance, and I think what it really did tonight, albeit, we have to accept that, the pitch didn't help us, and I know it's the same for both teams and all the rest of it, but it's a leveler. It's a leveler. It gives the advantage to the so-called slightly lesser players. We did what we had to do, but it really showed the lack of genuine difference in our setup. We've promised to pay Brentford an awful lot of money for Said Benrahma, and one of the things you'd expect that kind of player to do is find a way to unlock a well-drilled defence, and he wasn't able to do it. He was dropping deeper and deeper all night, to the point of, is he trying to do a Paul Breitner impersonation, for those old enough to remember him. He was playing that deep, and I sort of look at that and I'm thinking, is that what I want from a so-called creative player? I don't think so. Manu Lanzini, again, unable to really influence the game. And what do we fall back on? The big lump in the middle, the ball from out wide. It's not pretty, it's effective. If we're being honest, we've all seen West Ham United score a lot of goals like that over the years. Let's not kid ourselves that every goal we've ever scored has been pass and move on the deck stuff. Yeah. We've had lots of last ditch, in it goes, son. Thank God for that. He's got on the end of it. But the squad just isn't good enough. It's that simple. And we are, a third of the way through the transfer window? Which names are we really linked with that we think are actually going to arrive, and when? And the worry for me is we've got those 3 games you've mentioned, so-called winnable. We're not going to win them. We might win 1, draw 2, kind of thing. And another season just fizzles out into what? So for me, job done tonight, but by this time tomorrow, I can't even tell you who we played.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you all for your input tonight, to the Pink Palermo, to Rio, and to Gnome, as always, and also for your company. Thank you also to everyone on the YouTube live stream who joined us throughout the evening. As always, thank you very much, and we love to read your comments, and we've enjoyed engaging with you as always throughout the game. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. Down there somewhere in the corner, there is a subscribe button. If you just hit that, you will be notified of all content we upload from here on, and also we'll be notified when we go live for these streams in future. We are back on Saturday for West Ham United versus Burnley. Our next outing is a Premier League fixture, as we look to continue our decent start to the season, and also to 2021, which began with a win at Everton last week. But for tonight, that is it. It's finished. Stockport County 0, West Ham United 1. Craig Dawson is the hero of the night as he rises at the far post to nod home the only goal of the game and send West Ham through to the 4th round of the FA Cup this year, where we will face Doncaster and then Manchester United or Liverpool. But we won't worry about that one for now. We'll talk about that in a few weeks' time. Thank you, as I say, to everyone. Banana skin avoided. It's been raining cats and dogs all night. It's absolutely lashing down out here, and you can probably hear it on the roof. We'll see you all again on Saturday. Please stay safe until then. Take care, and thank you, and good night. Come on, you irons.